Hey now! What's up, everybody? How you guys doing? I'm terrible. Thanks for asking. If this is your first time here, welcome. If it's not, and you've been following the channel for these 13 or so videos, it's nice to have you back. In this episode, I'm going to be changing up the voiceover aspect. Usually in these videos, I try my best to explain what I'm doing on screen, trying to show those who have a passing interest in electronics that in reality, this stuff is pretty easy to pick up. I mean, I'm just a middle-aged dude in his basement who's learning this stuff with you. Or, maybe for those who actually know what they're doing, you just like to have a laugh at my utter lack of knowledge about, well, everything. This is a super basic project. A few solder joints here, and a few screws to tighten there. I mean, how many different ways can I explain what a resistor is anyway? So for this one, I'm going to take some time to share a little bit about myself with you fine folks. Crazy, I know. What do I think I am? Some sort of influencer? With that being said, let's get the basics out of the way. So what we have here today is, and I quote from the Amazon description, DIY solder project game kit with 5 retro classic games for electronic soldering practice and learning. Comfortable acrylic case and handheld size. Ideal gift for your family and friends by Vulgar Time. Retailing at a whopping $16.98. What a bargain. Putting this thing together made me feel kind of nostalgic, so gather around, youngsters. Uncle Brian is going to tell you a story from his youth. Now, being as old as dirt, I grew up in the advent of video games. And I was what you would call a video game nerd. Shout out to the angry one. Now, I wasn't a rich kid by any means. I mean, I grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. But my dad did okay. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So like I said, not rich, but we were nowhere near poor. And my dad was one of those guys that had friends that always found things that fell off the truck, if you know what I mean. So I had what most 80s kids would consider the finer things in life. Action figures, video games, and comic books. You know, the good shit. But video games were my thing. I mean, I had a Vectrex. Do you know anyone that had a Vectrex? Do you even know what a Vectrex is? So as anyone who knows me or has watched any of my videos before can probably tell, I like to tinker. I've been doing it my whole life. I'm that dude that, given enough time, can fix anything. That's probably why I do what I do for a living. Like my mother says to this day, Brian always used to take things apart and put them back together. He should have been a stockbroker. As my friends down south say, bless her heart. I mean, I did it to everything. Vacuums, blenders, stoves, Nintendos, you name it. I just wanted to understand how it worked. I mean, back then I probably broke more things than I fixed, but you get my drift. So anyway, enter 1990 or so, and here comes the Game Boy. Man, I loved that thing. I never went anywhere without it. The only problem was the batteries. I just looked it up, and it says that thing would run for 10 to 15 hours on 4 AA batteries. Let me tell you something. Bullshit. I remember the first time I went on a class trip. It was to DC, so maybe 5-6 hour ride from New York City. That thing didn't last the bus ride. 10 hours my ass. Now back then, batteries weren't cheap. They were probably 75 cents each. What's that today, like $8? I think I spent half my spending money for the trip on batteries. And that only lasted the first night or so. 4 kids in a hotel room playing all night? You run through them things. And guess who forgot the wall adapter? Needless to say, that thing only lasted the first 2 days. And then it went in the suitcase for the rest of the week. I was bummed, and I swore I would figure out how to make this thing last longer. So what's an 8th grader in 1990 do when there's no YouTube to look things up on, and you want to learn how to do something? You figure that shit out. I learned that AA batteries are 1.5 volts each. You know what else is 1.5 volts? Pretty much every battery you can buy in the store but a 9 volt. AAAs, AAs, Cs and Ds. They're all 1.5 volts. The wheels were turning. Can I just take 4D batteries and figure out a way to hook them up to this thing? Why yes, I think I can. I don't know if you know this or not, but D batteries is ginormous compared to a AA. So obviously, you just can't stick them in the back and call it a day. Now my father was a handy guy, but electric was not his thing. Pop, that's what we call Grandpa. Same deal. He was a draftsman architect, and he was also a pretty good carpenter. I was pretty close with my pop, maybe even a little closer to him than my dad. We would talk about everything, and he would even play video games with me all the time. My dad was more of a ruffian. Don't get me wrong, he was great, but me and Pop, we were more on the same level. Dad was the guy who got me the video games and toys and told me to go play. Pop was the guy who bought me the books and the microscope kits and played with me. So I was explaining to him what I wanted to do, and while he had no idea about the electronics portion, he understood my basic idea. So together, we made a small box out of wood that would hold my 4D batteries. As for the wiring, it was simple enough. We had electric shop back in my day, so I knew the basics. Black to ground, color to positive. And while I didn't have any electronics tools back then, no soldering iron or any of that stuff, I did have some wire. From where? I don't remember. As I'm writing this, yeah, I know, it's hard to believe I actually write this stuff out, but I do. It dawned upon me that Pop's dad, Big Pop, had a TV repair shop in the village when I was a real little kid. He had passed by the time I was 6 or 7, so the memories are pretty fleeting. But thinking back on it now, that's probably where I get this tinkering thing from. I'm remembering the shop now, filled with what I thought was really old stuff, and all these glass things that if you dropped them they would explode. I know now that they're called vacuum tubes, but back then I think I called them boomsticks. Hey, Evil Dead guy, you owe me some money, because this is my boomstick. Thinking about this stuff has really got the old gray matter working. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there was a box filled with wires and boomsticks. I want my money, Sam Raimi. Don't make me come looking. So yeah, there was a box of stuff laying around their apartment. Yeah, that's where I got the wire from. I remember. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, Pop probably knew exactly what I was doing, and he just wanted me to figure it out for myself. That's some good parenting right there. So I got that wire, stripped off the ends with a pair of scissors, hooked it up to the batteries with what I called back then black tape, took that Game Boy apart, and hooked it up to the battery terminal by wrapping the negative wire to the spring and some more tape to hold the positive wire to the flat one. And then I tried that thing out. And you know what? That fucking thing worked. Never in my 13 or so years of life had I been so excited. I just made something that worked. If you got a problem, yo, I'll solve it. I'm a fucking genius. And you know, that thing lasted forever. How long? I don't remember. But it was a long time. Days and days. But man, was that thing unwieldy. At one point, I lengthened the wire so I'd be able to put it in my backpack. Yeah, I was a regular Data. The Goonies one, not the Star Trek one. And my friends were so jealous. They thought I was MacGyver. So why do I tell you this story? This is a making shit channel, not listen to an old man reminisce channel. Well, I guess the moral of the story is, as I make what is essentially a Game Boy with a brighter screen. Man, that OG Game Boy screen sucked. If you have a younger person in your life, be it your own child, a grandchild, a niece, nephew, next door neighbor even, if you care about them, show interest in their interests. I couldn't have accomplished what I did back then without my pop's help. He didn't tell me that my idea was stupid. He helped me realize it. It might have only been a stupid box that we put together in an hour, but he helped me with it. He showed me that I wasn't just some stupid little kid, that I should be seen and not heard. He took interest in what I was doing. And that, my friends, is what makes memories that they will keep forever. Now, excuse me as I go play some Tetris. And oh shit, this thing has Snake too? Oh, it's on, son. $17 fucking dollars, man. This thing cost $17. It was worth it just to remember. Well, now that was a little different. What do you guys think? Is this something I should continue to do? I have to admit, this was probably the best time I've had making one of these. It really brought back a lot of memories. Like, I always remembered that my great-grandfather had that TV repair shop, but I didn't put it together. That's probably why I like doing this stuff. I mean, I was pretty young when he died, but being around a place like that at sub 6 years old had to have had some effect. And honestly, it didn't occur to me that Pop probably could have made what I wanted to do in 20 minutes. I mean, his father was basically the 70s version of an Apple store. Well, except he could actually fix your stuff. So he probably knew how to fix that stuff too. Well, maybe not. I don't know. It's not like he's around to ask. Maybe that's another takeaway from Storytime with Brian. Get to know your parents and grandparents. My father told me when I was in my mid-20s, "Get to know me, kid. I won't be here forever." I never took him up on that, and I think about that all the time. Well, never mind that trip down memory lane. Let's get to why you're really here. The solder porn. This kit was worth the time. It went together super easy. The pads took the solder great, as you can tell from the video, and even the instructions were quality. They were still written in Chinglish, but not that bad. They came as a booklet instead of just one sheet of paper, so nice touch. Even had a full wiring diagram with a breakdown of the CPU. I've been noticing lately that with the really cheap kits, they're having an issue with the PCBs. The solder just does not take in the through-hole ones. And don't tell me it's my soldering. I may have no idea what I'm talking about, but I could solder my ass off. It just seems like there's not enough pad. Or maybe they're just using crap materials. But then again, what should I expect out of a $10 kit? The case on this was pretty solid too, and I really have been playing with this a lot. Shout out to my girlfriend for getting this for me. Love you, boo! And with that, this video comes to an end. I'll leave you with some sexy B-roll, and as always, thanks for watching.